Welcome to the Find My Catalyst podcast. We all have problems we're looking to solve, and we know that there are solutions out there, but we struggle with this. How do we find the solution? Where does the nudge come from to help us take the next step and start solving tough problems? This podcast is designed to help you find your catalyst and take that next step. I'm Mike Simmons. I'm the founder of Catalyst Sale. This episode is brought to you by the Catalyst Sale Game Plan. It's our approach to goal setting and execution. If you head to catalystsale.com/game, you can find more information. My catalyst today is Larry Long Jr. Larry has been on the podcast before. He doesn't need an introduction, but I'll do it anyhow. He is the CEO, Chief Energy Officer, and international keynote speaker. He is the author of JOLT, his most recent book, and we are going to talk about that book on the podcast today. Let's go ahead and get to the conversation. Larry Long Jr., you are back. And so here's the deal. I have got to raise up my energy when you're on this thing because you bring it all the time. And for anybody who missed the first episode, go back and listen to it. And I will tell you again and again and again, this energy that Larry Long Jr. brings is the same when you meet him in person, when you're on the phone with him. It just comes through. So I am excited to have you back and give this thing a big jolt. So how are you doing?
Now you're talking my language. Come on, Mike. A big jolt. I'm happy to be back. Thank you.
So you launched a book. What was that process like?
I'm going to be honest with you. It was scary, man. Mike, if you were to talk to any of my English teachers in school and you told them Larry Long Jr. wrote a book, they would say, where's Ashton Kutcher? I know I must be getting punked. Because in English class, they used to tear me up with the red pen. Oh, they used to tear me up. But I was able to surround myself with a team. I had a book consultant. I had some editors, graphic designer, a self-publishing consultant. And when you surround yourself with a team that knows what they're doing and that they care about you, it was still tough, but it was absolutely amazing. And my book consultant, she heard me speak and she said, "You've got to write a book." And I said, "You don't know what you're talking about, Willis." So she slowly massaged me over 6 months. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. I was working on some other projects. She said, "You'll know when the time is right." And once she planted that seed in my head, I kept noodling on it. And then all of a sudden, ding, January 2021, I said, "Michelle, let's roll. I'm ready." A year and 3 months later, voila, we had a book.
Did you get into a daily practice of writing? Did you block time on the weekend? Like, what did that process look like?
So, Mike, the genesis of my book is my most meaningful 7 midweek, midday motivational minute topics. Yep. So I already had the audio. I already had the thoughts in my mind. I mean, chapter 1, what story are you telling yourself? I speak to sales teams all the time about the importance of self-talk, the importance of controlling the narrative that you speak to yourself. So I was really fortunate that my book consultant is also a ghostwriter. So essentially, I got to do what I do best, rock the mic or mics or even more mics. And for those people that are only listening in, I got 3 mics. I got 2 gold and 1 that I call platinum. It's rose gold. But I was able to speak, and she was the one who really formatted the 7 chapters. So it was still tough because I had to go back and I had to make sure that we rewrote it, make sure that my voice, my true voice, can you hear me now, was captured. But it was quite the journey. It was an adventure, sometimes a misadventure.
That's pretty powerful. You're able to go through and you, again, highlighting the importance of surrounding yourself with an amazing team that can help you bring out your best stuff and deliver. And down the road, what happens? You come out with a book is born. A book is born. Hey, and on this one, we've got 4 mics. Your 3 mics and this one.
I love it. But don't both.
Come on. The dad jokes are strong. Okay. So let's begin with the end in mind so that you wrap up the book and you focus on lessons from your dad as you wrap things up. And then we're going to go back through some of the other chapters. So let's start talking about lessons from your dad and what kind of role your dad played, not only in your life and throughout your life, but continues to play in your life?
Yeah, so I lost my father December 11th, 2015. And this chapter, it was a tough one. It was a tough one because I very rarely do I get emotional and sad. But there were mixed emotions because there's sadness that he's now no longer here with me. But there was also joy that I get to share this wonderful man, this role model, my number one fan, my hero, getting to share and pass along the lessons that I learned from him. So that chapter is the most meaningful. Someone said, what's your favorite chapter? It's kind of like kids. Like, well, who's your favorite kid? You don't really have a favorite, but I can tell you that chapter 7, Lessons from My Dad, has the most meaning. I mean, just being able to share his lessons to me about the importance of faith, the importance of family and friends, the importance of love, the importance of perseverance, persistence, determination. And it wasn't always what he said, but it was how he did it. The importance of competition. I mean, you've got kids, Mike. You know how that is. I mean, he busted his behind to make sure that my life was different from his. He grew up in the projects of Baltimore City, where he was surrounded by drugs, crime, just a lot of bad stuff. And for him, track was his ticket out of the projects, out of the hood, but he still had to make choices and decisions. And for him, mindset. He wasn't a glass half empty, a glass half full. He was a glass 100% full. That was his mentality. And I'll never forget, as a youngster, my dad was still working out for track. And I remember we would always go to the track. I would play in the sand pit while there's only 2 sand pits. He's a long jumper, triple jumper. And I remember before he did his run up, he would always talk to himself. His name was Larry Long. He's the original Larry Long, but his nickname was Shorty Long. So he'd be mumbling to himself, let's go, Shorty. Let's go. Come on. Let's. Blah, blah, blah. He was just pumping himself up, talking to himself. That's a memory that I'll never forget because he always did it. And he outkicked his coverage. He was the director of recreational therapy for the Department of Veterans Affairs. And for someone coming from Baltimore City, the projects, that he shouldn't have been there. But in his mind and in his heart, that's where he needed to be. And that's where he should have been. And just so inspirational. I mean, I owe so much of who I am today to both my father and my mother and my family, colleagues, mentors, coaches. But my dad, when you see that day in and day out, that role model, dynamite. Very rarely am I at a loss for words. But yeah, that it means so much.
So let's talk a bit about faith. So let's go a bit deeper on faith. What aspect did faith play for your dad, and what aspect does it play for you?
Yeah, well, we're believers. We're believers in our faith as Christians, and he was the leader of our family. We prayed before every meal. We prayed before we went to bed at night. He showed me by example what it meant to be a man of God, and that's something that's strong when you see it. Like, there's a saying that my mom used to say, your actions speak so loud, I can't hear what you're saying. So there's a lot of people that talk. I mean, talk is cheap. Hey, Mike, I'm getting a 6-pack. Well, I just ate fried chicken yesterday. I mean, yeah, Larry, I hear you, but what are you doing? And my father lived that faith walk day in and day out. And I'll never forget this, Mike. It was December 10th, 2015. Thanksgiving, I was just in Boston. My father was getting stem cell treatment and he almost didn't make it. December 10th, I'm on the phone. How you feeling, Pops? That's what my kids call him, Pops. I called him Dad, but how you feeling, Pops? Best I've ever felt. That was a bold-faced lie. He passed away the next day. That was a bold-faced lie. But in his mind, he believed. In his mind, he was going to speak it into existence. Unfortunately, his body didn't follow along. But just that belief that, hey, everything's going to be all right, that's what gives me solace. That's what gives me comfort and peace in knowing that my dad is in a much better place. He's at peace. He's at rest. He's not in pain. And his legacy lives on. I haven't shared this with too many folks, but December 11th, 2025, I put a stake in the ground. I'm driving towards either have broken ground or have a fully funded fund to support inner city youth with higher education. And that's a dream that my father always had. He passed the baton to me without even knowing it. And now I'm running that race to make sure that we support other Larry Longs in the projects that need financial assistance, that need resources. We provide them so that they can achieve their maximum potential. So The Shorty Long Foundation, December 11th, 2025.
I wrote it down. December 11th, 2025. Let's talk about strikeouts, because it's another big chapter in the book. So let's talk about strikeouts. And for those of you who aren't watching, and I know usually we don't put video out. We'll put some video out just because of the energy that Larry Long brings to this thing. But he has got a pink baseball bat in his hand, and he's ready to swing. So let's talk about strikeouts. What does striking out mean to you?
Yeah, well, Mike, I'm going to be honest. I'm not an expert at anything in life, but I am an expert at strikeouts. My baseball career was one big strikeout, but hey, I went down swinging. I swung the bat. And I've also struck out a lot in life, in business, in sales. And it's okay, because I look back through my journey, the ups, the downs, the twists, the turns, the highs, the lows. Those strikeouts were some of the best learnings and led to some of my greatest accomplishments. So what I really wanted to share is that it's okay to be unsuccessful. It's okay, as I think we call it, failure, the big F word, failure. It's okay as long as you learn. If you're living, learning, laughing, and loving, you're going to be okay in the end. But sometimes, and I'll say oftentimes, there's this air out there that you got to be perfect. I don't know if it comes from the educational system. It's like, oh, if I wasn't successful, I'm a failure. Life is over. No, I encourage folks to create a space and to get comfortable with being uncomfortable and realizing if I'm unsuccessful, it's okay. As long as I learn, as long as I share those learnings with others, and as long as I continuously get better, as long as I try again, it's not a failure. You can't be a failure if you don't quit. If you don't quit, if you don't give up, maybe if you pivot, that's okay. But as long as you don't give up and wave the white flag and say, I'm done with it, you're not a failure. Not in my book. I don't know the Webster or the Oxford Merriam definition, but in my book, that's a success. That's a building block. That's a foundational building block to get you to the top. And honestly, I don't even think there is a top, but it's going to get you moving up and progressing to have great success, great achievements, and to pass that along. I mentioned it intentionally. My father was a long jumper, triple jumper, but in track, in the relay race, you pass the baton. You talked about the team. I had a team that passed me their baton of knowledge. Right now, I'm working with an audiobook consultant. Can you hear me now? He's giving me all the tips. I think you're drinking coffee. He said, you got to drink tea, hot tea. You got to protect your voice. So I'm getting ready to go in the studio for my audiobook now, but I'm trying to pass that baton to others that, hey, strikeouts, they're a part of life. Deal with it, and you're going to be A-okay.
Have you ever been a part of a game where nobody struck out across all 9 innings? Has there ever been a game where nobody has struck out?
I can't recall a game where there were no strikeouts. And my son, his team just won districts last night. So I'm buzzing because it's just a proud papa moment. When you see your children thriving, having a blast, having success. He's had some adversity as well. He's had some strikeouts. And I'm telling him, hey, Trey, it runs in the family. Get used to it. We're going to be A-okay. You're going to be A-okay because you're a lot better than I am. The sky isn't even the limit. There is no limit. So to answer your question, I don't think there's ever been a game where no one struck out.
I can't imagine it. Yet there's perfect games, like a perfect game. What's a perfect game? A perfect game is the pitcher's on point, right?
That's right.
Pitcher is on point. That's the perfect game. That's one person who plays at a level that that very few people ever get to. And there's a lot of background stuff there. And I'm not a baseball guy. I wear hats because I lived in the area and I like the logo. I mean, I've picked up the Padres, I picked up the Angels, I picked up the Yankees. I've collected teams when it comes to baseball. But when we talk about perfection, it's about a pitcher who throws a perfect game where there's no contact. Well, actually, I don't even know it's no contact. It's that nobody. What's a perfect game, Larry?
It's no hits, no errors, no base runners, no walks. It's, as a pitcher, everyone who comes up, you sit them down, back to the dugout.
So strikeouts are part of the game. So, and perfect, doesn't really exist when you're playing offense and when you're involved in the game and when you're moving things forward. So let's shift into, and Trey has got some serious power. If you watched Larry Long Jr.'s Instagram, you will see this kid knock balls out of the park. Kid's got power. So on the mindset thing, how has mindset played a critical role in your success, and how will it continue to play a critical role in your success?
It's absolutely vital. I mean, and you can go back to the Henry Ford quote, and I'm going to give you the remix, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't. You're right. And my father always told me, he was like, hey, I started off my baseball career 1 for my first 24. There were a ton of strikeouts in there. For any math majors, that's .042. That'll get you playing left out at the end of the bench. Don't go near anyone else because that might be contagious. But essentially, I started off 1 for 24. I remember talking to him after a series at UNC Greensboro, University of North Carolina, Greensboro. He said, "Little Larry, how you feeling?" I said, "I feel terrible, Pops. I stink. I don't belong in Division I. I don't belong in the ACC. That was when Maryland was in the Atlantic Coast Conference. I'm dating myself. But he hopped through that phone and yanked me up. And he had some choice 3-letter and 4-letter words that the FCC won't let me share on your podcast, but you can use your imagination. But he pretty much told me, hey, we don't roll like that. You can't have my name, Larry Long Jr., if you have a stank old attitude like that. Get back to work. Get on the tee and practice. Yeah, I'm not Allen Iverson, but we're talking about practice, not the game. He said, you got to practice your skill. But more importantly, you got to get your mind right, because right now you're talking about you don't belong, you stink. Oh, I don't want to strike out. Well, you're going to strike out if you put that out there. You've got to come from a position of power, from a position of confidence. And that comes from working hard. Well, University of North Carolina came in for a weekend series. I got in defensive replacement. I got a blue pit over the first baseman's head. I was on top of the world. I was like Kanye West. You can't tell me nothing. I'm on top of the world. I'm a conqueror. That's all it took. The next day I started, I think I went 3 for 4. Sunday I started, went 2 for 4. I batted 289, 319 in conference my freshman year. And it just took that pep talk. It took that belief from my father for me to believe it in my heart, in my mind. And it's just, I see it all the time. I work with sales professionals, sales leaders, and their mindset is one of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I don't think I can do this. I'm afraid to pick up the phone. And if you have that mindset, guess what? You're probably not going to have success. You might get lucky. I like to go to Vegas. I like to gamble, but not when it comes to my success in business, in sales, and in life. And you can only control the controllable. So I encourage people to control their mind. You can't control other people, but you can control your mind. You can control your emotions. I think the acronym is called EAT, but we'll call it T. You can control how you treat other people, your emotions, and your actions and your attitude. And that mindset is vital. It starts with that mindset, because where the mind goes, that's where your mouth goes. That's where your actions go. So I encourage people to be intentional about protecting their mind and protecting the words that they share. Because when you say it out loud, I mean, I'm a perfect example. We moved around a lot as a youngster. We would say our prayers at night, and then my mom used to make me stand in the middle of the room, hands in the air, and say, I am somebody 10 times. You got this little nappy-headed 7-year-old walking around with this George Jefferson strut talking about, I am somebody. We're like, who is this little kid? I am somebody.
I'm thinking about that. It was the Eddie Murphy movie, Hercules. So one of the things you do control is you control the people you surround yourself with. You control the team you build for yourself and you build around. Let's talk a bit about that.
Yeah, the company that you keep. I mean, one of my chapters is you are what you consume, which that would make me a fried chicken sandwich because it's bow time. I don't know if you know about Bojangles Chicken and Biscuits, but shoot, I had to buy stock in them because we eat there so much. I'm trying to cut down. But essentially, you look, and I think Jim Rohn said, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you're around negative Nancys, negative Nellies, negative Neds, and I apologize if any of your listeners' name is Nancy, Ned, or Nelly, but if you're negative, chances are you're going to be negative. It's like osmosis. It rubs off. Now, if you're around folks that empower you, encourage you, you just said it, Hercules, Hercules. If you have an A team around you, yeah, I need Murdoch on my team. You got the A team surrounding you, and they're about excellence. And they set the bar high. And they're there to support you, to encourage you. And you're there to support them and encourage them. It's amazing. I mean, I ask your listeners to think back to some of the best teams that you've been a part of. I remember mine, the Columbia Reds, 13, 14, 15, 16 baseball team. We worked hard, we played harder, and we had a lot of success on the field. We challenged each other. Hey, you got to step your game up. We're trying to win some championships. And it was all in the spirit of love. It didn't mean that we all got along. It is what it is, but we were all driven for that same goal. And we were all supporting each other, lifting each other up to get there and getting in each other's stuff when we needed to get in each other's stuff because, hey, you're better than that, Larry. Let's go. Get your mind right. Get in the game. We need you. You struck out in the second inning. We're going to need you in the fifth inning and the seventh inning. Let's go. So those are some of my fondest memories. And I try to replicate that now in the business world. I try to surround myself with folks that are exemplifying excellence. I've got a coach who brings out the best in me. She doesn't accept, it's kind of like the T.I. song. She doesn't accept no mediocre. Nah, we ain't rolling with mediocre. If you want that, go work with a different coach. We're talking about that excellence, that Mamba mentality of what's next. Hey, you might be good, but what's great? You might be great, but what's exceptional? Let's take it to the top and let's keep stretching those boundaries.
Why do we struggle with this? Like we can kind of see this. You have these experiences where we're part of amazing teams as kids, and I think it is critical that critical strong, extremely important. Well, I'll go back to critical. Critical that kids have an opportunity to play youth sports. They are, whether they're good at that sport or not good at that sport, there is value that you gain from being part of the team and trying new things and then figuring out what you're good at. And it translates to theater, band, whatever. I was part of the Model United Nations group when I was in junior high and high school. I did MUN, which was absolutely amazing. And you learn about debate and perspective and working together and taking in thoughts that you don't agree with and having to argue on behalf of those thoughts. Like there's so many opportunities for us to get out and get out of our own way and get around others. Why doesn't this translate into the work environment? Or why do we struggle with seeing it translate into the work environment?
Well, Mike, it's tough. It's tough. It's not easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it. But it also requires intentionality. A lot of times, this is just my observation. A lot of times organizations and people just do what they've always done because it's easy. And I think it's the definition of insanity. I think I had to look it up on the Urban Dictionary, but I think it said doing the same daggone thing and expecting different results. So yeah, we know this, but knowing isn't doing. Knowing isn't executing. Therefore, the best and most exceptional individuals, and this is one of my chapters, they execute on the basics. They know that relationships, they know that teamwork, they know that hard work is what separates the good from the great. And then they execute on it. It's the basics, the please, the thank you, the ABCs, the 1, 2, 3s, the just mastering the basics. I think Kobe Bryant shares a story about how he worked on the basics. He's one of the greatest basketball players in the universe ever. I mean, I'm still MJ as the GOAT, but he was working on just basic footwork. What lesson does that tell me? That tells me that I need to make sure I master the blocking and the tackling. I need to master prospecting, overcoming objections, being able to generate value, to communicate value, being able to do great discovery. What questions? Am I intentional with the questions that I'm asking? Am I surgical like a doctor? We all know this. I know people are like, yup. But when I ask them, how do you do that? It's crickets. It's like a deer caught in the headlights. Great question, Larry. I don't know. Houston, we have a problem. It's tough.
Well, and when we go into those scenarios, you can get into a situation. You're like, well, a podcast is awesome. Podcast is a great way to communicate with each other, whether it's people are listening to it or watching the video. There's a level of engagement in the video. Even though I don't push video live, most of the time. I keep video on while we're talking because I need to see the nonverbal. I need to see, are you leaning in? Are you smiling? Are you engaged? Are you looking at your phone? Have you completely disconnected? Have you put on the pink flamingo glasses or pulled out the bat or get one of your 600 microphones that are out there and like, what is going on? What is next? And Larry hit on communication as a basic component of what we do. If you're going to work with others, if you're going to work with yourself, communication becomes a very important point. Not only the things that you say, but the things you hear, the things you listen to, the questions you ask as follow-up. And if you're sitting there and the back to basics is a script of questions where you just go on to the next, you're not doing the basics because you're focused on what's next in your list versus how's the person on the other end engaging in this. And so as we pull all of these things together, you talk about strikeouts, which turn into slumps. You talk about breaking through those and leveraging the team. You talk about, getting back to the basic fundamentals. Anytime I've ever gone it through a slump, that's the biggest challenge, is just pausing, stopping, and getting back to the basics. Larry, really powerful stuff.
I appreciate it. And you just went deep right there. I loved where you went on the communication, because oftentimes we stay at surface level of what someone says. But I want to dig deeper into how did they say it? What was the intent behind it? Just because someone says no, does that mean no, N-O? Or does it mean K-N-O-W? They just don't know what it is. They don't have an understanding. So of course their answer is no. I have no idea what you're talking about, Willis. Is it the timing? And you can't get that unless you're really attuned and unless you're really dialed in. And one of my chapters talks about sales. My definition of sales might be a little bit different, but I got two definitions. Number one, sales is a transfer of energy. And you don't have to have, I think people have said, in the words of the great philosopher, J.J. Walker, that my energy is dynamite. You don't have to have dynamite energy, but you better have some sort of gumption. You better have some sort of juice and let that juice loose, because prospects, they can smell BS from a mile away. My second definition, and I don't know if the name rings a bell, what's her name? Patty Stanger. I don't know if you watch Bravo. I think she's the $1 million matchmaker. Okay. We're playing matchmaker. We're matching whatever we have, a product, a service, a thought, an idea, with someone else's needs, wants, desires, challenges, hopes, dreams, aspirations. And if we can match that up, first we got to ask questions, because how can I match it if I don't know what you're looking for, what you're challenged with? But if I can match that, I'm selling, and we're all selling. If you're listening to this, you're in sales. I don't care what your title is. I don't even care what you think. I'm not in sales. Sales is a naughty word. Survey says, sales drives everything. Playing matchmaker. Someone told me, ABC, I think that was Glengarry Glen Ross, always be closing. Always be helping. If you're always helping, you're not going to have a want in the world. If you're always helping intentionally, you're going to be A-okay. And here goes one way to do it. Hashtag 3-minute challenge, Mike. Most people tell me, I don't have time, Larry. I don't have time to nurture relationships. If you don't have 3 minutes, we got to dig a little bit deeper. Something's going on. 3 minutes. Go into your Rolodex. That's not the fancy watch. That's called a Rolex. But go into your contact list in your phones. Find one person you haven't been in contact with recently. Could be 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years. I want you to intentionally think about, how can I surprise and delight? If you were my surprise and delight today, Mike, I'd probably go to my best friend Google and I type in Arizona State swimming funny GIF. I just saw a funny video clip of a young lady in college, I think, doing the dive. And she went off the board and she dived onto the board. It was hilarious. I'd probably send that to you and say, hey, Mike, I'm thinking about you, man. It's a fantastic Friday. Happy July 1st. Thought you might enjoy this. I'm not asking you for anything. I'm just making a deposit. I'm letting you know virtually that I care about you. Nothing but love, Mike Simmons. When you do that every day, give it a try. Give it a try for 3 months. Let me know how your life changes. Because by you changing these other people's lives for the positive, your life is guaranteed. I know there's no guarantees in life, except for taxes and death. But I guarantee your life will be more fulfilled. Give it a try.
3 minutes. You got the challenge. Give it a try. And please do not send me anything related to Arizona State University right now. This is going to date things, but Larry Long Jr. and I are recording on July 1st. Yesterday, UCLA and USC announced that they're moving into the Big Ten, which is actually like the Big 24 that has schools like Rutgers and Maryland in this conference. And so I'm pushing those memories down really deep because I'm not willing to accept that the Pac-12 is completely exploding and imploding right now. And it's a dumpster fire. So there you go. So speaking of GIFs or GIFs or whatever those things are called, one of the ones are when they were talking about ASU joining the SEC, someone said, hey, is ASU going to join the SEC? They put the South Park video out there when the Detroit Red Wings played whatever the midget team was from someplace else in Detroit. And it just won't end well. It won't end well. But that's the beauty. So the cool thing about a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, whether you're involved in sports, you've played sports, your kids are involved in sports, they play sports, you're on some other team that's developing things, there are going to be times where you go through adversity. There are going to be times where you have really good ups and downs. You can choose who you want to surround yourself with. You can have faith to help you push through all of these things. And there is a book out there that you should go pick up. When I first heard the name, the first thing that I thought of was the drink that was out there way back when. But you are looking for a jolt. Click on the link in the show notes. Read the book. And who knows, with Larry working with an audio coach and getting things moving along, we're going to actually get to hear this energy in an audiobook now we know that on December 11th, 2025, the fund has been launched. When does the audiobook launch?
I'm planning to get in the studio now in July, and I'm hopeful. I'm planning on getting the audiobook out in August. So you can hear me now with all the microphones, narrating my own book, really sharing my story with the passion that comes behind it. So I'm super excited. I don't know if you can tell. My goal, Mike, is to really get people zapped, get them out of a rut, getting them zapped back on track to rediscover and believe in their inner greatness. Everyone that's listening, you've got greatness inside of you. I don't care what you say to yourself. I don't care what other people say. You've got greatness. Let's go ahead and tap into it. Let's step into it and let's make it happen.
Let's talk a bit about what you're doing now. So where are you spending your time now beyond at the baseball diamond, watching Trey knock balls out of the park and getting things up for how tournament season is coming together? Where are you spending time now? How can people engage with you?
Yeah, I've been really fortunate to be on the speaker circuit as a motivational speaker, sewing into individuals and organizations. So I primarily work with software companies, but recently I've been talking at colleges and universities, nonprofits, associations, really folks that want to hear this uplifting message and learn how they can step into their greatness. So I'm hitting the road next week. I'll be in Nashville. Then I go to New York. I got West Palm Beach. And then in the fall, I'm going on a bus tour. I'm joining Beck Holland on the Flip the Script tour. We're hitting 12 cities. I think it's in 17 days, rocking and rolling on a bus with Keenan, Beck, Guillaume from France. It's going to be absolutely amazing.
Very cool. What cities are you hitting?
Boston, New York, Raleigh, Nashville, Chicago, Atlanta, Dallas, Austin, Denver, Salt Lake City, LA, and then we wrap up in San Francisco.
Man, how do you avoid Phoenix? Come on, man. There's got to be a way for you to get down to Phoenix, or you got to let me know when the tour's going, and I'll figure out a way to connect up with you.
I might have to take the steering wheel and steer it on over
just a hard left someplace in there and kind of work things down. Do it. You know what will happen is while everybody's sleeping. They're just so. What's one of the most common things that happens after you are in front of an audience and you got this energy and you see people smiling and nodding and they're getting in? what are some of the most common questions? Just let's do two questions that you get from people when they come up to you after you're speaking. They ask you one of two things. What's the first thing
Number one, where do you get all this energy? Are you like this all the time? That's the number one question. And the answer is, no, I'm not like this all the time. That would be impossible. I'm not the Energizer Bunny. I've got bad things that happen, negative things that happen. But for the most part, I am pretty happy. We just went to the Frost Science Museum in Miami. We took a Disney cruise out of Miami. They have this facial recognition that can recognize from your facial features whether you're happy, whether you're angry, whether you're sad. It's impossible for me to be sad. I was trying to put on a sad face and it registered as angry. My wife was like, you got to work harder. So I was trying to think of bad things, sad things. I was trying to do the sad face, but I can't be sad, Mike. But I get my energy from every day. It's just a choice. I choose to, and I'm not a Latin scholar, but I choose to carpe diem. Back in my younger years, I could carpe noctem. I could seize the night. I'm a little bit too old now. I need a nap, but I seize each and every day intentionally. So
I'm telling you this. If I saw you put the face on that you just tried to do as a sad face, I'd say we need to get Larry Long Jr., whatever it is that helps with constipation. It's got to be like some ammonium AD or something. But so you can't look sad. You can look constipated.
But not. Oh, goodness. And then the second question, it's kind of a toss-up. But people ask, like, hey, what advice do you have for me? Because I'm struggling. I'm challenged. I speak mostly with sales reps, and sales is tough. It's not a 4-letter word, but it'll make you say some 4-letter words. And my advice is, hey, let's find what works for you. I'm not Simon Sinek. I'm not the Black Simon Sinek, but what's your why? What's your motivation? For me, it's my kids, it's my wife, it's my father's legacy, my family, making them proud. But before that, I had different motivations. There were times where I was motivated by money. You've got to understand what's your motivation. Why are you doing what you're doing? And if you're not crystal clear on that, it's going to be tough. Because even if you are crystal clear, it's still tough. That doesn't make it easy. It makes it easier to ask yourself, why am I doing what I'm doing? Tony Robbins talks about the power of questions. The better questions we ask, the better answers we get. I ask myself this question every day. It comes from Martin Luther King Jr. What he shares is life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing to help others? So I ask myself that in the morning. I look at myself in the mirror and I say, self, what are you doing to help others today? And at the end of the day, I reflect and I say, what did I do to help someone else out today? If I don't have a good answer, shame on me. That's not a good day. But if I have an answer or answers, I'm living a fulfilled life. So with that kind of focus for me, Mike, every day is a great day. I'm no Ice Cube, but today was a great day. That's the remix right there. It is what you make of it. I mean, we're all entrepreneurs, whether we want it or not. We get out of it what we put into it. So if you put your all into every day, you're going to get your all out of it. If you kind of go through coasting and hoping and wishing and just kind of just flying by the seat of your pants, Houston, we have a problem. So I just encourage folks to find what's your motivation.
So I was watching you speak and I heard all of this and you went through and you got all of this energy. The question I'd come up with is, Larry Long Jr., this was absolutely amazing. It's cool to see the energy. It's cool to see this excitement. How do I help my kids get that same thing? Work through some of the mindset challenges. Understand that strikeouts are just part of the game. Know that it's important to surround themselves with really good people and that they can build the team. And that team is either building them up or taking them down. When it comes to sales, it's about helping others. It's about solving problems. It's about being present as you go through this. So how do I convey that to them?
Yeah. So you looked at my clip notes. There's a couple of things, and I'm not an expert at this, but this is just my take. This is my hot take. The best present you can give is your presence, of being there. And I'm gonna challenge folks, being there without this. But just throw the phone away and be present. Be at where your feet are at. The second gift is to demonstrate it. Your kids are watching. Your neighbors are watching. People are watching what you do. So I encourage you to model that behavior so that they can, in the words of the great philosopher Mystical, show me what you're working with. They want to see it in action. And the third thing is care and be patient. Rome wasn't built overnight. I'm going through my own parenthood journey right now. It doesn't happen overnight. It's like people go to the gym and they're like, where's my six pack? You just came one day. What you talking about, Willis? Talk to me after 365 days. Then we can talk. So with kids, and every kid is different. Every situation is different. But I encourage you to be there. Make sure they know that you care through your actions, and then model that behavior. It's a process. I'm sure my parents, I was a knucklehead. I still am. I just know how to mask it. I'm sure my parents wondered, is this kid ever going to figure it out? But they continued repetition. They continued with love and sometimes tough love. I got spankings. They tore my little behind up. But with tough love, I knew that they cared and they loved me. They kept repeating the same lessons over and over and over. And that repetition, it means so much because when they weren't there, ding, 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 it came back. I'm having flashbacks. Ooh, I could zig, but that ain't good. That's going to get me a spanking. I better zag. So I just encourage to do it with love, to do it with fun. You only live once. You only live once. The young millennial said, YOLO. I said, what are you calling me? They said, no, Larry, you only live once. So you got to have fun with what you do and don't do it alone. It takes a village, the community, your family, your friends, professional colleagues. People want to help. Sometimes, and I'm guilty of this, the ego steps in. I'm not going to ask for help. No. What I've learned in my 44 years, you better ask for help. Healthy people ask for what they want. And sometimes I've been unhealthy because I was scared. I don't want to disturb anyone. I don't want to put them out of place. What I learned is you ask if they can do it. Great. If they can't, that's okay too. Let's keep it moving. Ask the next person. I'm here to help. If there's anything I can do to help, do not hesitate to pick up the phone, call me, reach out on LinkedIn. Happy to help anytime, anywhere, any place, as long as I can. Happy to help.
And that is genuine. Larry is that helper. Larry responds to texts. He picks up the phone. Could be driving trade a baseball game. Picks up the phone. We can have a conversation. It is great to see the energy. It's also good to hear that, hey, sometimes the energy is not there. But I can tell you, based on every experience that I've ever had with Larry Long Jr., he is genuine, walks the path. His actions speak much louder than his words, and his words are pretty loud. So, Larry Long Jr., thanks for carrying on the legacy of your dad, for bringing all of this forward and bringing this energy out to folks. Where can people connect up with you? And we'll include links in the show notes to everything that we've talked about, including the book. And the book is JOLT. The audiobook will come out later this summer. And again, we'll include links in the show notes. But Larry, where can people connect up with you?
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Mike. That means so much. It means the world to me, more than you'll ever know. And my dad meant so much to me. People can find me best places on LinkedIn, Larry Long Jr. I got the smile for a mile. I think I got the gold mic. You can't miss me. I got the face for radio. You can also find me on my website, Larry Long Jr. That's LarryLongJR.com. Happy to interact, happy to engage, happy to assist you wherever possible. I've been so blessed. This comes from a place of people blessing me. I've been so blessed along my journey. So many folks have truly cared for me and truly looked out for me. My mentor, Mark Winchester, he was there at I had lunch with him the day before my father passed. He showed up. He drove from North Carolina to Maryland to be there for the viewing. He didn't tell me he was going to be there. He didn't have to be there. But as a true mentor, friend, and just great person, he was there. It's those instances. And I co-authored a book and wrote a chapter about Mark. And the title was The Little Things Are Really the Big Things. And I wanted to say the little things are really the big things. I wanted to keep it authentic, but they said, Larry, you can't write like that in our book. Go ahead and write your own book. You want to talk like that. I said, okay, watch me. So find me on LinkedIn, find me at my website. Happy to connect with you.
Larry, thank you. If you know of somebody who would enjoy this conversation, and you know of people who will enjoy this conversation, if you know of someone who needs to hear this conversation because it's going to help them break through some of the challenges they're working through. If you've got a kid who you want to hear this because you want to convey some of the things that Larry shared, do it. Share it with them. If you do it on social, let both Larry and I know. We'd love to see those shares. We'll work to amplify those. Sales is a thinking process. Business is a thinking process. Life is a thinking process. How are you thinking differently about your process?